What is poppin', people, and welcome back to yet another tattoo critiques video. Only this time we are doing it a little bit different. We are going to be adding ratings into this video. The ratings are going to be from 1 to 5. So 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, yada yada, up until 5 out of 5. And I've no idea why I've just explained that, because, you know, you're not stupid. Anyway, if you get 5 out of 5, then you can consider yourself absolute god tier, baller, upper echelon tattoo artist. Because it is very, very prestigious to get 5 out of 5 from yours truly. Also, I have created the hashtag Ravage Rating. I figured that rather than putting up a community post constantly when I want to do these like ratings or critique videos, that, you know what, create an hashtag and you can put that hashtag in your Instagram posts on the tattoos that you want me to see, for me to rate, to be potentially featured in a video. Also, be aware, guys, that these critiques are blind. This is the first time I am looking to analyze the image. I haven't done any analysis off of camera or anything like that. So what you are getting is my initial thoughts on the tattoo. Let's go. So batter up number 1 will be Jason Birchall. He sent an email saying, "What's poppin'?" What is poppin', Jason? I've been on an online course now for about a year. I have lots of improvements to go and realize my transfer to human skin might be challenging, but I want to have the most experience I can have before getting on human skin. That's a really, really, really good attitude to have. We've created an amazing opportunity of up and coming tattoo artists. I think the tide has changed as far as toxicity in the tattoo community. I have received nothing but love from several different tattoo artists, from old school to modern day artists. Don't get me wrong, the shitheads are still out there, but I don't have time, my man. Anyway, this is the tattoo that we are looking at, that Jason has sent in, and it is, quite honestly, a pretty decent dog portrait of what looks like, to me, a Rottweiler. Now, my opening initial thoughts on this is, I love how you've got the direction of the fur in this area here. I love, you know, you can see the direction coming around here, you can see the direction coming around there. So as far as that goes, yeah, brilliant, bang on. What it looks to be also is that you've got quite a bit of texture in this area around here, which is also pretty good. Now, the thing that instantly pops out to me is the nose. It's kind of getting lost. The nose is kind of getting lost within the rest of the dog portrait. So what I would have done personally is I would have done a nice line all the way around up until these dark bits, just to separate that nose a little bit more from the rest of the portrait. I often find that separating the nose just gives also a better look to the portrait overall. What I would also consider doing is lining around these nostrils. I feel like those need to be a lot tighter than what they are. I can see that you've just gone straight in with a mag, but they're a little bit too soft. And then what you've got is around the nostril, like where the nostril comes out, it starts to curve around. So I would maybe blend off that nostril just a little bit around the tops, just to, you know, give that roundness where the light is, you know, starting to curl round. Now, the next thing I would say is around this bit here on the tongue. The transition is not as smooth as I would want it to be. However, remember that I have not seen the reference that you've used or anything like that, alright? I'm only going on initial thoughts. So yeah, I feel like that area from this black to this dark could transition a lot better. Again, the good point is you've got the direction coming around here, which is great. You don't seem to be having a problem with direction, which is great, especially on portraits like this. However, you know, you do have quite a big light source on the dog's face. I personally would have preferred a little bit more saturation in that. You've saturated the right side of the face very well, but it's lacking on the left side. Even if you use a light tone, completely saturate it, because it just looks a lot better when it is saturated. The next thing I would say is the whiskers. Alright, your whiskers are quite lost. They really are. Because the dog's black and then the whiskers are black, you're only really seeing them on the whiter bits. Which, you know, what you could have done is potentially just highlight them. Just do something a little bit more to make them pop. Just that little bit extra. But overall, Jason, I would actually say that this is a pretty good dog portrait, and you should be really proud that you've done this. Take into account what I've said and apply it, and you know, hopefully you get better. But what is the rating? What would we give Jason's dog portrait? I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. So well done, Jason. On to the next one. Next up we have Craig. Now Craig says he's been tattooing super casually since May 2021, so he's only got 1.5 years experience, but not tattooing the whole time as life is busy. And I've only done about 20 tattoos on real skin, teaching myself solely from watching YouTube videos from myself and a few other guys that share information on the tube. Long story short, the Where's Wally was my first tattoo on real skin, then the SpongeBob, then kept going from there, and also doing a heap on the practice pad and fake skin. I know your post said 1 image, but 1 in the last 3 months, but I haven't had the chance to do any in the last 3 months due to commitments. Craig, that's absolutely fine, buddy. What I have done is I have took your most recent tattoo, which is this one right here. So, we have an eye, we have a skull. Initial thoughts straight off the bat, Craig, is that this whole thing is way too light, buddy. There's a very there's just no black in it whatsoever. Even underneath the eye here and in the nose, if that is black, it's not packed very well, and it almost looks just like a dark tone. So overall, it's just too light. Now, my next initial impressions of this piece would be the eye itself. All right, there is absolutely no roundness on this eyelid. Again, potentially just because it's too light. You might have tried to put that roundness in, but because it's too light, it's not actually coming across that well. So you need to darken up your tattoos. But that roundness around the eyelid, where the darkness of the fold starts to come over the eyelid, that needs to be a lot darker, and you'll get that roundness of the eye in there a lot better. The top of the eye, all right, needs to be black. Light does not catch the top of the eye. The eyelashes create a shadow that also creates more realism in your eyes, okay? So go and darken that bit up if you have chance to, you know, touch this tattoo up. And next, what you've done is you've used lines in the eyes. Now, lines aren't always a bad thing, but you've lined round water. I imagine this bit here is a teardrop, and because you've put a line around the bottom of the eye and around that teardrop, you just completely take away that realism aspect. And then what you've also done is you've put eyelashes, you know, on in like coming out of that water of that tear, and without seeing the reference it's hard to tell, but to me that doesn't make sense. The water would, you know, sit on top of the eyelash or underneath. I don't know, there's just something that's not quite right about it. All right, your eyelashes are okay, to be fair. That's pretty much how I would do eyelashes. Again, you're just lacking that darkness. Your clock numbers, all right, they're a little bit choppy. They're, if you know, zooming in, you can see they're just not quite there. This one, you've got this line coming down here, which is, you know, quite shaky. Next, the good thing is this here is the See No Evil is for the most part relatively neat. You've got a little bit of shakiness on this end here. You've got a little bit of shakiness on the E. But for the most part, that's relatively good. Now, another thing that I see is you have used lines quite a lot, but because you haven't gone dark enough or you haven't added enough detail in there, the lines are pretty damn prominent. And if you are going for realism, you need to know when to use lines and when not to use lines. And you've used lines when you shouldn't use lines, especially like around here and especially around here. So overall, it's all right. It's an all right tattoo, especially for the time that you've been doing it. You know, I've got to give props for that. 1.5 years, I think you said. So for 1.5 years, self-taught, just watching YouTube videos, you're about where I would expect you to be honest. So you're not, you know, excelling, but you aren't, you know, you're not the worst at all. So overall, it's just too light. You need to know when to use lines and when not to use lines. And what I can't understand though, Craig, is that the SpongeBob that you sent through is relatively dark, and from what you've said, that was done before this. So what you should have done is take the darkness of that SpongeBob and apply it into this tattoo, and it would have been vastly superior. Anyway, Craig, I hope that has helped. Oh, no. We need to give it a rating. Right, what do we rate Craig's tattoo? I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. It seems a little bit harsh, but the aim of these is to make you better. So, 2 out of 5. Next to bat is Dave. Now, Dave put, hope I'm not too late for my submission. My first ever colour tattoo done on my sister 4 days ago. Would love to hear your thoughts, pal. Regards. Okay, so Dave sent in this rose tattoo. Right, initially, straight off the bat, the colour, all right, in these leaves needs to be packed in a lot better. You've also got some, like, I don't know. I don't know if these were like meant to be like points on the leaves, but that's not coming across. That could just be mistakes. On this leaf here, you've not worked up to the lines, all right. And this one here, you've got a line coming around here, but not for the rest of the leaf. Would have looked a lot better if you'd have, you know, either blended that line out with a darker green or some shading, and so you didn't see that line. Now, coming up to the rose itself, it's a little bit muddled. It's a little, yeah, it's just a little bit too muddled for me. Lines would have helped you out quite a lot around this area. It's hard to see where your petals are. Like, you can see the petals. I'm not saying you can't see the petals, but they're, you know, it's hard to pinpoint precisely, you know, what's a petal and what isn't. So I can see, like, around here, you know, that's where the petal kills over, around here, and around here. So you can see where the petals curl over, but it's not giving quite as good as an effect as what would have happened if you know, used black and used lines in this one. Now, I don't know how big this actual tattoo is, but when this heals, it's probably just going to look like a red blotch, to be honest. It's just not tight enough up there. Your use of black is pretty non-existent, to be fair. You've got like some black around this area, but again, these blacks need to be faded off, all right? When you think about how a leaf kills round, you know, it's darker on the bottom and then it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter as it comes around, and you're not really showing that when the black is so harshly stopped before you go into your next tone, okay? So you're not getting the realism aspect in there. I also think that you could have used some better greens, maybe put some like lighter browns in there also, just to give it some, you know, more of a leafy look. Same with the veins in the leaves, but overall it just needs tightening up. It just needs a massive tighten up. It's not as solid as it needs to be. So, what would I rate this tattoo? We are going to rate this one a 2 out of 5 also, unfortunately. Yeah, it just needs tightening up. Go back in, tighten it up, use those lines, define those petals, use those different greens, pack in those greens a little bit better, neaten up that stem also, and you should be good. Next up is Aaron, and Aaron sent in this, what looks like a Jason Voorhees mask, but he's put his own demonic spin on it, which I actually quite like, to be fair. Now, initially, straight off the bat, I love the texture that you've put in this tongue. I think it's a really, really good look and really, you know, puts across what you was trying to achieve. Now, into the critique. The line work in the teeth, okay, down the bottom there. The line work on the top of the head is a little bit shaky and could be better. Also, line work up here, it's not solid. It needs to be, your lines need to be a lot better than, you know, what you're presenting on this tattoo. Same in here, you know, same, you know, yeah, just same everywhere. It seems like lines are a struggle for you. So if there's one thing initially that I could say, is practice your line work. Now, what's popping out to me the most is you've got all that texture in the tongue, but then on the eyes, it's like you couldn't be arsed. I don't know what it is, but like it seems like you've put more effort into the tongue than you have the eyes. And personally for me, I would have put more effort into the eyes than the tongue. In a real, in the real world, you'd put equal effort in both, but the eyes are, a little bit lackluster in comparison to what your tongue is. You have no depth in the eyes whatsoever, unfortunately. There's no, you've got black up here again, but there's no blend offs or anything like that. It's very harsh. You've got no roundness on the eyes neither. Like, it's very flat. What you should have is a nice shadow in this area here, creating that roundness of that eyeball. Same with the eyelids. So yes, if you get a chance to go back in, definitely, 3D those babies up. Next, I would say your saturation is relatively quite good. It's a little bit choppy around this area. I like how you've put the blue in there, but it is a little bit choppy. Now, overall, I think it's an okay job. Again, around here, it's just not solid. It really isn't. That red is not solid enough. Your grey that you've done is, it looks quite solid, especially like in these bits here, but that red's not solid. What else? I think overall you've done a relatively good job. I like the design. I just think that you need to be a lot, you need to pack in a lot better. You need to get your blends a lot smoother. Like I said, it's very choppy around the top left of the Voorhees mask. And I feel like you need to just spend a little bit more time on the important parts of the portrait / design as a whole, rather than just on that tongue, which that is what I'm getting with this image. What shall we rate this one? I think for the design and the tongue, I feel like we will go with a 3 out of 5. Aaron gets a 3 out of 5. Next up we have Edgar. Now Edgar sent in this portrait of the notorious B.I.G. Now, firstly, straight off the bat, well done. It looks like Notorious, so you're already onto a winner. Now, you have this around here. Your shading is brilliantly smooth. It's nice and smooth. You have good, differentiations between your darker tones and your lighter tones in a darker area, which is good. Now, what I would have done, personally, for me, your lips, need to be a little bit sharper. There needs to be a little bit more like pop in your lips. The nose area around here also needs to be a little bit sharper for me. And then you might also want to just blend it off just slightly, just to give more roundness to that nostril. What also would have helped this portrait is these glasses. is if you would have just sharpened them up. Whether you sharpen them up with your mag on the side, or whether you did it with a liner or a round shader, just sharpen them up. And then this bit right here, the, you know, where the glasses, you know, rest, the bit that rests over the ears and the highlight merges together, I would have probably just used maybe a 3 or a single, just to get just a slight line down there, or just saturated that area a little bit darker than what you have, just to, you know, give the shape back to those glasses. Next is the hair. So around here, it doesn't look very solid, not as solid as what it could be, unfortunately. Around the ear, this needs to be a little bit sharper than what you've got it. And then I would have also, you know, done these clothes. If you'd have done those clothes, your portrait would have been a million times better just off the back of that. But all in all, it's a good portrait. You can tell who it is, and just implementing the things that I've told you will take this portrait to the next level. Your saturation's great, your smoothness is there, so well done. Now, a rating for the Notorious, we are gonna go with a 3.5, I think. Yeah, 3.5. I think the lips and the glasses and the clothing down the bottom really knock it down a bit, but 3.5 for Edgar. So we are nearly there. We only have 2 more, but coming in right now is LV. Now LV says, hey Chris, I've been tattooing for about 1.5 years and have 15 plus years experience with pencil before this. Now LV sent in this. Now it does have to be said, LV, for you tattooing 1.5 years to produce this quality of work, you are levels above people that have been doing it the same amount of time. It's really hard to pick fault with this. You can definitely tell that you have the 15 plus years art experience. Seriously, buddy, well done on this portrait. Now, I do have to pick it apart though. What I initially see first off is the bow in the top. I feel like you've spent quite a lot on the face and quite a lot of time in the air, but you've not put the time into that bow. Your bow is lacking in comparison to the rest of the portrait. Coming down this area here, the shoulder is nice and soft. For me, it just needs to be a little bit sharper than what you've done it. The clothing also seems like you've skimped out on the clothing just a little bit. It's too soft. It's just way too soft, and it could have a little bit more in it. Again, please, you know, I am doing this blind. I've not seen your reference, so, but that's just what I'm seeing. The face is beautiful. Like, you have done an incredibly good job. It's nice and soft. If I was to pick anything out on the face, it would just be this left nostril here. I feel like the blend needs to be a little bit better around that area. This right nostril, again, zooming in. Yeah, it just needs to be a little bit, just needs a little bit more. I love the shadow that you've got cast on the lips. The lips are nice and soft, that you can, you know, the top lip's still there. The eyes, yeah, like, dude, it's just a really, really good portrait. It's hard to pick fault with it. I love that you've got the sheen, like, on the forehead and the hair, and it's all, like, you know, cohesive and, you know, consistent. Like, I love that. I love how soft you've done the hair, all the wispy little strands. Dude, like, it's a really, really good portrait. But, however, because of the clothing, because of the shoulder, I can't give you the coveted 5 out of 5. So the rating I will be giving LV for this one is a 4. Well done, buddy. Really, really good portrait. I can't fault this portrait. I've had to really look to pick faults. Well done. A year and a half in, I'm excited to see what you can do with another year and a half on your back. Now and last, what better way to finish this critique with a traddy banger. This tattoo was sent in by Chris. Awesome name, by the way. Hope all is going well as can be. I've been continuing my tattoo journey since I started in 2017. Did I do an apprenticeship at one point? Yes. Am I self-taught? Yes. All journeys are different, as I'm sure you know. Yes, I do. But let's get right into it with this one right here, which is a trad ship. Seriously, dude, like, as far as trad goes, this is a pretty clean tattoo. There is not much that I can really pick fault with, to be honest. Your line work is really, really, really nice. There's a few like questionable bits in your line work. However, it's not very noticeable at all. If I was to point something out, it would definitely be the birds that you've done over on the left side. And I just think this like smaller bird just looks a little bit, I don't know, it's just not as good as your other ones, and yeah, it just doesn't look as neat. Also, it is very, very small, so when this heals over time, potentially, you know, that's gonna bleed into each wing, and it's just not gonna look like a bird anymore. So yes, I am really struggling to pick fault with this as a trad tattoo, just so you know. The sails, the black is very nicely whip shaded. However, I feel like what you should have done is pack the black up next to the top and then shaded off that black. It looks to me like you've not packed black, you've just shaded black. Trad is based around black, especially when you're doing stuff like this. So yeah, it's never in between. It's either black or it's not. And I feel like if you'd have just packed black in the top of those sails, it would have drove this piece home to me. You've done it with the clouds, like around the clouds on the left hand side. You know, you can see where you've packed black in and then whipped it off. Just not getting that same look on the sails, unfortunately. But it is still a good job. And because it is a traddy banger, and there isn't much to say about it, you did send some others in. So we will also look at this one here, which is a witch broomstick with some clouds and some stars. Now, again, there's some discrepancies in your line work on the moon. Yes, it's a moon and you get away with it. It's slightly round, but in this area here, you can see that it's just not as tidy as the rest of your line work. Also, your stars, the star on the left, this small one here, and the one down the bottom left here, they're just not uniform enough. Every single star needed to be the same. Not the same size, but just the same shape. And you've not hit it on those two stars that I've just mentioned. Again, in the clouds, black, I feel like your use of black needs to be just a little bit more. you've shaded with black, but you've not packed black in, and trad is based around that. If the idea of the clouds was to have it shaded like this, I mean, the top here, you've got like some black involved, you know, a lot more packed in than the rest. So if this was the intention, then fair enough. But to me personally, like I said, trad's one or the other. There's no in between with it. The next thing that I would probably point out is the broom, like tassels, whatever you would call it, on the bottom. They don't seem very straight. Again, this could be intentional. However, I think it, you know, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't know if it's intentional or not. But looking closely anyway, it looks like that you've whipped off your line instead of just pulling off your line, which on trad, the end of the line needs to be like the start of the line, not you know, slightly whipped off. But other than that, bud, you've got an awesome name and you've got some cool ass tattoos. And how long have you been doing it? Did you say? So you started in 2017, on and off, I take it, since you've had an apprenticeship and you're self-taught. So for the work that you're doing, congratulations, buddy. You're definitely on to a winner. But guys, that is enough critiques for today. I hope you have all learned something, and I hope you have not taken any offense to this critique video. If you have, I don't know what to say. It's a critique and I'm harsh because I want you guys to get better. If you are new around here, please consider subscribing to the channel, and do not forget to turn on the bell notifications, all of them, to get notified whenever I do anything on my channel. If you are wanting any added extra benefits, then you can go over to my Patreon. The link will be in the description. You get some extra benefits. Also, I do one-on-one tattoo seminars, so if you are wanting any of those, email is in the description. But guys, that is all for today. I shall see you all in the next video, which I think is going to be talking about tattoo courses and a channel update. But guys, I shall see you all in the next one. Peace.